Day 64, we're going to be reviewing the quiz here. I just want you to copy the parts that correspond to the things that you got wrong on the quiz. So, if you got question number 1 wrong, please draw this picture. If you got it right, if you got question number 1 right, you do not need to copy this. But if you got number 1 wrong, draw the surface of the ground there and some grass, maybe a flower or something like that, in order to indicate that this is indeed the ground. And then underneath, I want you to draw a blob. And then in squiggly letters, I want you to draw the letters magma, all squiggly, to give you the idea of liquid. And then draw a couple squiggly lines above and below the word magma, again to get the idea of liquid underneath the ground in that area. Question number 2. If you got question number 2 wrong, please draw this picture. If you got question number 2 right, you can skip it. What do you draw melted rock that's moved above ground? So we're going to draw the ground here and some grass, draw a flower or something else that gives you the idea of above ground, and then I want you to draw a blob coming in like this. Label it lava. Again with some squiggly lines to give you the idea of liquid. Number 3, copy this question only if you got question number 3 wrong. This is going to be a little bit more involved here. Okay, let's label this first of all. What kind of action is needed to make igneous rocks form? So let's label this as start with. What materials do we start with in order to make igneous rocks? We start with either magma or lava. And to remind us about the liquid nature of these things, let's draw squiggly lines here. Okay, then what do we do to this stuff in order to make an igneous rock? We have to cool it down. So draw that in an arrow. That shows you the process that we need. We need to cool this hot magma, cool the hot lava, and then what we get out of that is igneous rock. And draw a picture underneath this of a rock, and then I want you to draw a lattice like that to indicate that these are crystals. Remember, we get large crystals if it cools slowly. If that gives you lots of time to grow those large crystals, that'll be the way it is. If it cools very, very quickly, then the crystals do not have time to grow very big, and you'll end up with very, very small crystals. Okay, if you got question number 4 wrong, please copy this one. If you got question number 4 right, you can skip this section. What kind of action is needed to make sedimentary rocks? Okay, we start off, please copy this down, we're going to start with sediments. Things like sand or shells, things that can be moved around easily, dust, dirt, small pebbles, that kind of stuff. And I'm going to draw little circles here to represent the sediments, the sand particles, the shells. And what do we do with these things? Well, we are going to do 2 things. We're going to compact it, and we're going to cement it. Compacting, meaning to squeeze. Let's write that up here. And cementing it, meaning to glue it together. So you have to have the right pressure, and you have to have the right kind of chemicals around the sand or pebble, or shells or pebbles, whatever, the right kind of chemicals to act as a glue. But if we do get this compaction or cementation, then we're going to get a sedimentary rock. That is what we're going to get. And I want you to draw a rock shape again, but this time I want you to draw the circles that we had before, and then I want you to shade it in to represent the cementing, the chemicals that are gluing these particles together. Number 5. What kind of action is needed to make metamorphic rocks form? Okay. The stuff that we start with here is some old rock. It can be any kind of a rock, an igneous rock, a metamorphic rock, a sedimentary rock, anything. And what do we do to this? In order to make a metamorphic rock, we have to heat and pressure. Not any kind of heat and pressure, but this has to be extreme. Extreme heat and pressure. And if we do that, then what we get, we get metamorphic. It's going to be a different kind of rock that we started off with. The crystal structure of the old rock is going to get all twisted out of shape and changed by the extreme heat and pressure. We're going to get new crystals, new structures, and so therefore we're going to get a new name. It's a new rock, metamorphic of some sort. There's lots of different kinds of metamorphic rocks with lots of different names. Okay, number 6. What kind of rock is made when an old rock is changed directly into another kind of a rock? So again, if you got question number 6 wrong, please draw this little diagram. We start off with some kind of an old rock, and then we're going to have extreme heat and pressure. That's the process that we go through. And what we get from all of that is a new metamorphic rock. Number 7. If you got question number 7 wrong, please copy this. If you got it right, you can skip over it. What kind of rock is made from smaller pieces of rocks, such as sand and pebbles? Well, we're starting off with sand. That is a type of sediment. And we're going to cement this stuff together. So you have all the S sounds. Sand is a sediment that we're going to cement together. And I'm going to draw little pictures of little sand particles here. And then we're going to have an arrow to show that it's going to get compacted and cemented together. And that's going to create a sedimentary rock. So the S words go together. Sedimentary rock is made by cementing together sediments like sand and shells. Number 8. What kind of rock is made from melted rocks, lava or magma? If you got number 8 wrong, please copy this question or this diagram down. We have lava and magma. Draw squiggly lines to represent hot liquid. And then we're going to cool this. That's the process that this undergoes. And when we go through that process, then we're going to turn it into igneous rock. Now, one possible way of remembering igneous is that the I of igneous and the L of lava are pretty close to being just simply the vertical lines. They kind of look the same. Igneous and lava, those two things at the beginning, kind of are similar. Hopefully that will help you connect those two words together. Number 9. What do you call igneous rocks that form when lava has exited the ground? Okay, sorry, I skipped one. What do you call igneous rocks that form when magma cools in the ground? Well, if it's cooling in the ground, then it is intrusive igneous. Number 10. What do you call the igneous rocks that form when lava has exited the ground? Okay, exited, that means that it is now on the external parts of the earth. And so the type of rock that's going to be formed is the extrusive. All the EX words go together. Number 11. Melted rock slowly cools underground to form a rock. What kind of crystals will most likely form in the process? Well, if we have a slow cooling, that's going to enable large crystals to form, wide crystals to form. If we have lots of time, then we're going to have large crystals are able to grow. They can grow really big before everything freezes up and you can't form anything new. Backside, number 12. Melted rock quickly cools above ground to form rock. What kind of crystals will most likely form in this process? Well, another word for quick is fast. And when you have fast cooling, you're going to end up with small crystals, or you could say tiny crystals. But if it cools fast like this, then there's not enough time to grow big crystals. So all the crystals will be small. Number 13. Do any sedimentary rocks contain detectable materials of living things? And the answer is yes. Whoops, made a mistake. Sometimes dirt covers dead things and turns them into a fossil. Sometimes dirt covers dead things and turns them into fossils. And dirt and sand and shells and all sorts of stuff are sediments, and so it forms a sedimentary rock with a fossil. So it turns them into fossils in sedimentary rocks. Number 14. What kind of rock would form when lava cools at the surface of the volcano in a massive eruption? Okay, if you got question number 14 wrong, please copy this diagram. We have lava, squiggly lines meaning it's hot liquid that's got to cool. And when it cools, it turns it into igneous rock. Circle the L and circle the I and connect them together. They kind of look alike, both being vertical lines. And so that might connect the idea of lava and igneous in your mind. Number 15. What rocks form when layers of sand are compressed and cemented together at the end of the Mississippi River? Okay, cemented, sand, those are S-sounding words. That goes along with sedimentary rock, because a sedimentary rock is made out of sediments being cemented together. Sand is a kind of a sediment. Number 16. What kind of rock would form when a plate of igneous rock is pushed upwards during the intense earthquake and experiences extensive heat and pressure? This phrase right here should have clued you in. Another word for extensive is extreme. So whenever you have extreme heat and pressure, you're basically cooking stuff that's going to be metamorphic. Metamorphic rock. You can think about metamorphic and cook kind of have similar sounds at the end here. Metamorphic is when you cook rocks with extreme heat and pressure, thus changing their shape, or changing their crystal shape, I should say. Number 17. What kind of rock could include fossils? Sediments. Sometimes cover dead things to make fossils. In sedimentary rock. The heat of the extreme heat and pressure that makes metamorphic rocks, that extreme heat and pressure would erase any kind of fossils. And the heat of magma or lava would also erase any fossils. So it's only in sedimentary rock that we find those things. Number 18. What kind of rock would form when pebbles are stuck together as seen below? Okay, so we have a picture down here. But we'd start off with sediments, sand, pebbles, shells, dirt. All of those are types of sediments. And then we undergo compaction. So I'm going to draw an arrow pushing in on these things, getting them closer together. And I'm also going to put down cement. If you have the right chemicals that act like cement, it's not actually going to be cement, it's just going to act like cement. So I'm going to shade in between all of these circles, shade in between the sediments to represent the cement coming in and gluing it all. And therefore, we end up with this thing that's already shown, and that is a sedimentary rock. So sediments, like pebbles and sand and shells and dirt, get compacted and cemented together to make sedimentary rock. When you're all done copying those things that you got wrong on the quiz, please show it to your teacher.